joined right now by the president and chairman of the board for Citizens United, Mr. David Bossie. Hey, Dave, how are you? Good to talk to you.
I am great. How you doing?
I'm fine. I know you know about this, but I just want the people to hear it also. This is the president at his press conference yesterday bringing up your fine organization. And here we go. Here's the cut. Let's give it a whirl.
Continue to believe that Citizens United contributed to some of the problems we're having in Washington right now. You have some ideological extremist who has a big bankroll, and they can entirely skew our politics. And there are a whole bunch of members of Congress right now who privately will tell you, I know our positions are unreasonable, but we're scared that if we don't go along with the Tea Party agenda or some particularly extremist agenda, that will be challenged from the right. And the threats are very explicit. And so they toe the line.
Yeah. Boy, first of all, this guy's got some chutzpah. But, yeah, it's all your fault, man. It's your fault. It's the Supreme Court's fault. If you didn't bring that case, they'd be singing Kumbaya right now with John Boehner.
I know they would be. And you know what? I'm so grateful that the President of the United States, just is the divider-in-chief, the hater-in-chief. He can't help himself, and he hates Citizens United. He hates our organization. He knows that we are responsible for the House of Representatives not being under Democrat control, or being one of the groups that helped do that. But, he wants to have full, total control. He wants to have absolute power. And he looks at the House and he sees the House of Representatives not being under his control, not being ruled by Nancy Pelosi and him, and he resents it. And look what he's doing with, the government shutdown right now. I mean, he's just such a small man. He is somebody who's trying to make this as painful as possible on the American people. And I mean, look, they're closing the parking lot at Mount Vernon. Now, the ladies of Mount Vernon own Mount Vernon. They just don't own the parking lot next door because it's on federal property. So they close the parking lot so they can't have any visitors to George Washington's home. They close the pull-off to look at Mount Rushmore. They close the Blue Ridge Parkway entrance to a private hotel because it's on federal land and he leases. I mean, they are trying to make this as painful as possible. They close open-air memorials in Washington, D.C. And the reason that I recount all those things, and the reason that I believe that he is such an evil person, is it's insidious in its nature, is that if Barack Obama gets his way with Obamacare, and I want everybody to understand this and think about this for a second, but if he's willing to do this and inflict this much pain on the American people when it comes down to things that he can control, like the government shutdown, if he controls your health care, if the federal government controls your health care, what's to stop them from ceasing to give you your health care? And so that is a message that we need to be taking to the American people, that we have philosophical differences. We believe in a smaller, more efficient government. They believe in a big government. Well, a big government gets these types of problems. If we return some of these federal lands to state control, guess what? We wouldn't, maybe Mount Rushmore, where the governor's already irritated enough that they closed what he considers state-run highways, not federal highways, we don't understand what they're going to do with your chemotherapy, with your drugs that you need to control your diabetes. What are they going to do if they have total control of your health care? Those are very serious questions.
Right, and Dave, those were addressed in the so-called death panels. I had Tom Daschle on my show at WOR when I was still there years ago. He wrote a book. He didn't know what he was getting into, and he's really the architect. It's based on the British plan. He just couldn't be confirmed for Kathleen Sebelius's gig because he was too big a tax cheat, unlike Timmy Geithner, who was a smaller tax cheat. So when I asked him, I said, so what if you got an 85-year-old guy, who needs a double bypass surgery? What are you going to do? And he said, and it's not verbatim, but it's a quote. He said, well, think of other options like giving him a pill or a hospice. I said, you're going to send him to die? I said, a pill won't work because he needs to unclog his arteries, and you're going to send him to die? He said, well, you said it, I didn't. I said, no, that's what a hospice is for. So he revealed himself, and that's what their plan is.
And that is what their plan is, and that is why the American people should run. They shouldn't walk away from Obamacare. They should run away from Obamacare. They need to understand what this does and what the government takeover does. And so that's really what I think this government shutdown makes crystal clear to the American people is if the government can control all of these things that they don't need to, then what if they are controlling something that is near and dear to you, your child's, your parents' health care, your own health care? It's very frightening.
And we're talking to David Bossie, the chairman of the board and the I'm going to get it right, and president of Citizens United here on the Steve Malzberg Show. I have a top all-time donors list to political parties from 1989 to 2012, okay? And certainly most of that is before the Citizens United Supreme Court case came into effect. And this is so telling, and this is why Barack Obama, if he does hate you, as you say, this is why he hates you. Because here's the top giver, 89 to 2012, $92 million by Act Blue. 99% of it given to Democrats. AFSCME, the union, 81% to Democrats. AT&T, well, they're an exception, 41% to Democrats. National Education Association, Goldman Sachs, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. You go down the list, and it's 85% plus to Democrats.
Absolutely.
So they wanted to keep that pie, cut that way, and you threw a wrench in there.
Right. I mean, look, the status quo is what they wanted. I mean, they wanted to be able to continue the domination of campaign finance of that side of the ledger because they had the unions and the union dues that hardworking Americans pay into their unions, and then they get used for political purposes, which mostly they don't agree with, I might add. So it's really an amazing thing that the Democrats have in their power, this enormous amount of wealth that is basically taken out of Americans' paychecks. So I think they absolutely wanted to keep that in check, along with the Democrat Party, along with the George Soroses, the MoveOn.orgs of the world, where they had a one-sided game, and we were losing. And so what we said is, look, enough's enough. We're gonna have to stand up for our First Amendment rights, and that's when we won. He attacked us and the Supreme Court famously in his State of the Union address.
I was talking about that while we were getting you on the phone. Yeah, and Sam Alito said no.
That's right. Not true.
Not true.
Not true.
Yeah.
And he was berated for having done that.
Yeah, imagine that.
I mean, because remember, the president is a constitutional law scholar. Remember that. Don't let him tell you.
Well, of course, no. That I don't ever recall a president, taking to task the Supreme Court in that fashion, and while they're sitting there and can't defend themselves. But the president, taking to task the Supreme Court in that fashion, and while they're sitting there and can't defend themselves. But Bossie, always a pleasure to speak to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care. That's David Bossie, president and chairman of the board for Citizens United, Barack Obama's best buddies. Here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Okay, we're going to get to Jim and Joe, and anybody else want to weigh in? I think David said that the president was evil. Any comments on that? Agree? Disagree? 855-777-96 was evil. Any comments on that? Agree? Disagree? 855-777-96. Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.